My name is Oyama Mdleleni. I am a purpose coach. I coach Christian Black women aged 40 and above who have children and who work in the public sector. I coach these women to discovering their purpose. I use a framework that has worked for me, that I've gone through a journey where I have also discovered my own purpose. I shared on my last segment the first part of my framework, where I shared the key performance areas, which are spirituality, relationships, mindset, health, career, environment, and money. There's 7 of those, which is followed by the purpose continuum of a healing process that is an enabler to achieving these, to making effective the key performance areas. The continuum consists of, it's healing, but it's broken down to hunger, expectations, awareness, listening, imagination, noting, and gratitude. So it's broken down to that. I shared on my previous segment on spirituality, my own experience on spirituality, which is enabled by hunger. For you to be able to reach a spiritual level, that is where you have this intimate relationship with God, with your spiritual level intertwines with the spirit of the Lord that resides in you. You have to show hunger. You have to show hunger, where the Bible tells us that we do not live by bread alone, but by the word of God. So now, when you show that hunger, that's when now you are able to be fed by the word of God, because it will fill those voids that you've been having in your life. As I grew up very broken from being raped by a family member at the age of 6, all the bad things that happened to me, I grew up very, very broken. I didn't know who I was, and I was not exposed to church when I was young. I started going to church after I got married. I didn't know God as I know him now, as my Lord and Savior today. So spirituality, literally, it was like I had been walking blindfold, and when I received the Spirit of the Lord, it was like I was woken up from a deep sleep. I started to experience this beautiful journey and a process with God. But today I'm going to share about relationships. There's 2 relationships, most important relationships in my life, that were gravely affected by my brokenness. That is the relationship with my mother and the relationship with my husband. I was first start with the relationship with my mother. My mother lost. I was 8 months when my father died, and my mother left me with my paternal grandmother and my aunts. When I ask her now, she tells me that she had to move on with her life. So when I stayed with them, that's when now all these bad things started happening to me. I was under their care, my grandmother and my aunt's care, when I was raped at 6 years, and again at 8 years by another different family member, and they kept that as a secret. They never informed my mother about it. So when I reconnected with her at the age of 9, that's when she was pregnant with my younger sister. And then I started staying with her full time at the age of 13. I did not tell her this during that period up until when I was 13 now. I started to grow this resentment towards her. I hated her so deeply that I started to have a bad attitude towards her. When she would try to talk to me or try to, as a child, ask me to do something, I would just give her this bad attitude. Up until one day now, it was like I was imploding on the inside. This one day now, I just exploded. I just told her what had happened to me all those years, and I blamed her for not being there. She started crying, and then now she went to my aunts and asked them, and they confirmed. They told her that what had happened. And even then, even though she knew now, but she has always been the biggest trigger in my life up to this date. because there's that part that still says that still remains, that says she abandoned me and she was not there when all these things happened. She could have protected me by now. So now, as I have reconnected with her, I'm starting to build this relationship, which is not perfect, because there's still times when she would say something that maybe if I'm making a choice, I'm making a decision about my life, and she comes with her own views, and I totally do not agree with her views, I would have that feeling of rejection again, that why are you not agreeing with what I want? Because she's not agreeing with my idea or decision, then I would feel like she's rejecting me all over again. So now I try to avoid, and by trying to manage my expectation, which is the continuum for relationship, the enabler now, I try to manage my expectations when it comes to her, because I try to love, I try to accept her at the level that she has of understanding, where I say, okay, this is her understanding, I just need to respect that. I don't have to take her advice, I don't have to accept, I accept it, but that doesn't mean now I need to, I don't have to be disrespectful about that, because at the end of the day, she's still my mother. So I just try to love her at the level. And I also try to understand and tell myself that she gave me what she had, because you cannot give a person what you don't have. So she gave me what she had at the time, what she had been exposed to, what she had received also for herself. So she gave me what she had, which was not the best, but I just have to accept that it's what she had. She couldn't give me what she didn't have. So our relationship up to this stage is still a trigger. So I avoid talking about certain things with her, because I know it will take me back again to that 6-year-old who felt abandoned, who felt rejected. And I try to also minimize contact with her. I know she's my mother, and maybe one day we can have this relationship like of friendship, but at this moment I don't have that. And to also protect my own self, I need to have that boundary with her. And then with my husband, oh, with my mother, I'm going to share a video she made where she's sharing also her own experience and her own understanding of what had happened with me. I will just share that. And then with my husband, I met my husband and I was 20 at the time. We now have 5 children. We've been married now for 16 years. So the brokenness with my husband started to show very early in our marriage. The first 13 years of our marriage was the worst time ever. Sorry about that, the aeroplane. The first 13 years of our marriage was the worst time ever. That's the time where we would fight about everything. I would just be triggered by whatever he says. But whatever he says, I did not have the capacity to say, to try first and make sense of what he was saying and try to understand where was it coming from, his perspective, his background, everything. I did not have that capacity at the time. So everything he was saying to me was received by my insecurities, was received by my own pain, my own brokenness. I did not have the tools and the techniques to be able to frame it in a way that says, okay, what he's saying now he's not trying to hurt you. He's not being mean. Look at where he comes from. Take it from his perspective, and you don't even have to agree with it, because that is how we manage our expectations, by saying, okay, I take what you receive. I'm listening to what you're telling me, but I don't agree with it. But I don't have to be disrespectful towards you. This is your opinion or your views, and I don't have to agree with everything that you say, but I wish you could also listen to my own. And the communication for me has always been a biggest challenge, was I'm not an effective, I was never an effective communicator, because I feel that when my family did not even ask me what had happened, even try to sit down and as a family and find a solution to what had happened to me, and instead they brushed me off, they sidelined me. I felt isolated. I felt like I couldn't. I've never spoken boldly and confidently in my life. Even at work, I've had these kind of challenges where I just get anxious when I have to speak, or when I have an idea or something that I would want to share. I can just get anxious. I can't speak out because of what had happened to me, that I was never given an opportunity to say my side of the story, and for the family to just come to sit down and just say, okay, this has happened and we regret what has happened to you. How best can we help? What do you think? What do you think would be the best solution? Even if at the time I was a child, maybe I would not have had the words to articulate how I was feeling, or what help I would have needed at that time. But just for someone to take me through, even the even the removing the confusion of saying, if a person touches you as a child and it feels inappropriate, it feels like it's wrong, but this person is doing it and now your family is covering it up. So it just now leaves you very confused as a child to say, okay, this has happened to me. I have not, now no one has spoken to me about it, and it just feels like everyone is just hiding this thing. So now I'm left alone to just with my thoughts and my own conclusion of saying, okay, this maybe is what this thing means. And you are left now to make your own conclusions as a child. So now with my husband, this was a big challenge. Communication for me was a big challenge. Instead, I would just build up this wall, and it would be so difficult for him to penetrate the wall to say, okay, what has happened? Every time we would try to resolve an issue or resolve a conflict, I would just like shut down. And he would not know what to do. This now happened 13 years of our marriage. It happened for 13 years in our marriage, where we just did not have the appropriate tools or ways of to communicate whatever expectations we have of each other. And now this escalated also to other areas now of our lives, our finances, children, family, extended families, and all these other areas of our lives were also affected, because we're not, especially from my side, I was not having the tools to be able to resolve conflicts, and to be able to even communicate my own expectations in terms of I need help with this. I'm confused about this. I'm feeling like this. I would like for you to do 1, 2, 3, or I do not like 1, 2, and 3, because I couldn't. So it affected our marriage until now. 13 years down the line, we were about to get a divorce. At the time, we were having 4 children. That's when, and we were even separated. He was staying alone, and the children would come and visit him. We would come and take them on Wednesdays, because we had made this agreement. He would come and take them on Wednesdays, and we would alternate the weekends. And I could see how this was affecting our children. And that's when now I started to break down and started to get depressed, until now this one day, the Spirit of the Lord, I just felt His presence in my life, and my life has changed ever since. The first thing that the Spirit of the Lord told me to do, I apologized to my husband. I firstly wrote a book. I sent it through to him, because it did not have the full story of my background. He knew just snippets here and there, but it did not have the full story. So I shared my book with him. He read through it, and now he could understand. Even though, yes, whatever you went through does not, you don't have to treat people badly. Yes, they may understand if you share with them, but you really don't have to treat people badly, because you are in pain. That's why it's always better to first heal your wounds before you connect with another person, because those wounds, they will transfer, and you will start now building this toxic relationship because you have not dealt with your wounds. And now you will start making, because what I noticed is that my toxicity was also rubbing off on him. He started being mean, and started being like, he wanted to be, if things continued, or if I had pushed him far, I would he would have been violent. He really would have been violent. So it's that is now okay. We got back together. I apologized to him. It took time for him, because he was also experiencing his own pain, and he did not trust that really I had changed. Up until now, as time went, he saw that the fruits of the spirit, that's which I always talk about. When you are saved, you don't have to explain to people that you are saved, but they will see by the fruit of your spirit. They will start to see change in you, the way you speak, the way you interact, the way you think, the way you respond to issues. Yes, it's a journey, it's a process, but you can't have the Spirit of the Lord and remain the same. It's impossible. You can't. There has to be change, because the Spirit of the Lord is our helper, our counselor, our guide, and our lead. So he leads us to better manage our relationships, to equips us to know what to say and know what not to say, convicts us even when we've offended someone, that we are able to correct those mistakes. So that is it for relationships for now. Please do sign up for my masterclass. I'm running a masterclass from Mondays to Friday at a cost of 500 Rand per individual, where I share these principles and also how to also incorporate them for your own life, and you can start to see also these changes, because we're all going through one thing or another as women, as Christian women. And I share this so that we can go through this journey of evolving, this journey of discovering our purpose, and we can start also seeing these huge leaps of change and building healthy relationships with our children and with our parents, with our spouses, with our colleagues and our friends, whoever that God has placed in on our surroundings. Then we can start to build these healthy relationships. But it all starts with having that intimate relationship with God. So I share now my own framework that has worked for my life. I know it can work for yours, where you can also start to design your own life the way God intended it to be. So purpose is about becoming who God created you to be when He placed us in our mother's womb. That is the person that God created us to be. When we discover that our purpose is where now we go back to the original. We go to the original intent and will of God. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my own story, and I look further to having more intimate engagements with you, where you can also start to come out of your shell, and to also come out and share your own story that can also help other women who need to hear it. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.